Alcohol Tipping Point is brought to you in partnership with Speak Studios and Speak Boise. Speak Boise is a community-driven studio space where voices from all walks of life can speak and be heard. You can find them on Instagram and Facebook at Speak Studios, Speak Boise, and at their website, speakstudios.com. Speak Studios. Speak and be heard. This podcast is also brought to you by Instant Imprints. Promote better with Instant Imprints. Instant Imprints are Boise's visual communications experts and your place for everything you need to promote your business, club, school, or group. As a locally owned business, Instant Imprints specializes in making your organization more visible with custom branded apparel, embroidery, promotional items, print services, and wide format printing for signs, as well as banners and vehicle graphics. Want better ways to get noticed? Visit Instant Imprints at instantimprints.com/Boise or call 208-IMPRINT. That's 208-467-7468. Hello, Alcohol Tipping Point listeners. We have exciting news. Speak Studios has recently partnered with eBay. We have access to awesome deals, some up to 50% off, and we want to work together to get these deals out to listeners. This episode's link gives you up to 50% off on eBay products. So make sure to get these top shelf products discounted while you can. All right. Welcome to the Alcohol Tipping Point podcast. I may call it ATP just to make it short. I want this podcast to be for you. If you're thinking about quitting drinking, maybe you have already quit, maybe you're struggling, wherever you are on your journey, whether you're wanting to take a break or just stop for a week or a month or doing a dry month. Wherever you are, I want to be a place for you to find tools and resources and action items that you can start doing right away. And so I want to start this first podcast using a book that I recently read, and I think a lot of people have read it out there, and it's called Atomic Habits. It's by James Clear, and it is about applying tiny, remarkable, tiny habits or changes to make a big improvement over time. So the idea is basically when we set out to do a goal, a huge goal like quit drinking, that can be so overwhelming. But really what it is, it's what we do day to day. It's those 1% changes that can make all the difference. All right, so an example of that would be when you set out to learn a new language, you don't expect to learn it after one day of studying the language. It is going to take multiple times to get that language down. Well, it's the same thing when you are quitting drinking. It's nearly impossible to decide one day that you're done drinking and just be done and be perfect. It takes practice. And so these tools from Atomic Habits are going to give you some practical ideas that you can use when you're cutting back drinking or completely stopping. All right, so the idea of an atomic habit is that atoms, if we're going to break them down to just the chemical element, it's like a hydrogen or carbon. So they're very, very tiny. And so these tiny improvements can accumulate to make a big change. And so what happens at first is you don't notice that you're making a change until you start to improve day by day. And so when you are quitting drinking, it's popular to say, take it one day at a time and to focus on the day, not the whole year. And just remember again that you are practicing. So sometimes that slow pace of transformation can make it easy for a bad habit to slide. So, if you have a drink today, you might not feel it much the next day. If you go out to the bar and stay late, you might upset your family, but it's just, it's one time. But it's when they start to accumulate and we start repeating these behaviors, that drinking one day turns into drinking every day. And drinking one glass of wine turns into one bottle of wine. And day after day, that's when our habits turn toxic. All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty, how to break a bad habit. So behavior change starts with identity. So how we identify ourselves is so important. So when you think about other areas of your life, for example, if you're a mom or I'm a nurse, that is how I identify myself. And that is my actions show that is what I am. So I am a mom. And so that means I take care of my children. I have children. I feed them. I clothe them. I love them. I'm a mom. Same with a nurse. I'm a nurse. I've got education. I can give certain medications, do certain procedures. That's my identity. And so the same thing can happen with habits. So if you want to, let's say, do a race, let's say you want to do a marathon. Well, is your habit, are you working towards doing a marathon, or is your habit you are a runner? So when you become your identity, when you say, I am a runner, well, you are going to do things that runners do. What does that mean? That means going out and running 3 times a week. You have running shoes. You have running groups. That is part of your identity. And so what we can do with this identity is use it to apply to quit drinking. So if you think about it, before you decided to change your drinking habits, you may have identified yourself as like a lush, like I called myself a lush, or a heavy drinker. It was just me, like, it's just me. I'm a heavy drinker. I'm a lush. And what did my behaviors show? Well, all my behaviors contributed to my identity. Yes, I was heavily drinking. I was doing Whiny Women Wednesdays. I was drinking, definitely. So when you're changing this habit, okay, so what you can do is decide what type of person you want to be. So for drinking, you can say, I am a sober person. I am a non-drinker. I am a teetotaler. And what does that mean? You're going to prove it to yourself with small wins. That means you don't drink. You practice don't drinking. As a sober person, that's your identity. That means you don't drink, and that just becomes what you say, and your behavior and your actions follow. So that's how identity can work when you are changing a habit. So again, the goal is not to quit drinking. The goal is to become a non-drinker, a teetotaler. The goal is to become sober. And listen, it can be hard to change your identity. It can be hard to believe it. But what you're doing is you're switching the story up. So you might be telling yourself the same story, and that story might be, I can't manage my drinking. I can't quit drinking. I'm terrible. I'm a horrible person. But when you switch the story to, I am a non-drinker, I am controlling my habit, I am in control of my life, I am working on my drinking, well, then you take power over your story. And listen, the more deeply a thought or action is tied to your identity, the more difficult it is to change it. And it can feel comfortable to believe what your culture believes. So in our culture, drinking is normal. So it's really hard to go against the grain of the group. It's hard to be different because drinking is so normalized in our society. But we'll get to that point a little bit later and how you can use that kind of groupthink to help you. All right, so now I'm just going to give you a few techniques that James Clear gives in his book, Atomic Habits, just to help you break the habit. So one thing you want to do is make it invisible. So this is kind of the duh technique, right? You want to reduce exposure. So that means you want to remove alcohol from your house, but you also want to change up your route, change up your routine, change what you're doing daily, because we get so stuck in our routines that we don't even realize we're doing them anymore. So for example, let's say you're off work, You're driving home, you get home, you go right to the fridge, you grab a beer, or you pour yourself a glass of wine. Like that has just become your routine. It's really difficult to break that up. But one thing you can do is keep your routine, but lose the alcohol. So keep that same routine. Come home, go to the fridge, but grab a different drink. Even grab, if you're into it, grab one of the NA beers or non-alcohol wine, or make yourself a fancy mocktail. You can pour it in a wine glass. But the thing is, you're still doing the same routine, but you're just taking out an element of it, and that element is the toxic alcohol. Okay, another tip for you is to make breaking this habit attractive. So this is all back to how you think about it and reframing your mindset. So you want to think about highlighting the benefits of avoiding a drink. And Alan Carr and Annie Grace wrote This Naked Mind, they do that beautifully. So what they're doing is highlighting, they're basically pointing out that your mindset is kind of stuck in one rut. So you think drinking is something you need to do to be social, but it's not. You can be social without drinking at all. You think that drinking is about relieving stress, but it's not. Drinking doesn't relieve anxiety or stress. It just makes it worse. And so you're losing nothing, and you're making positive gains, not only in health, energy, and money, but also in confidence, self-respect, freedom, and most important of all, in the length and quality of your future. So you're making it attractive. It's not, I have to quit drinking. It's, I get to quit drinking. I am doing this for my health. I am doing this to sleep better. I am doing this to have less anxiety. I'm doing this to feel better, to improve my relationship. So you're shifting your whole mindset from something that is negative and punishing yourself for taking this quote unquote friend away. You're shifting it to something positive that you're doing for your health, both physically and mentally. Another tip for you is to make it difficult. So that's just increasing the friction. So increasing the number of steps between you and your bad habits. So that's where you don't have the alcohol in your house. You could have someone hide it for, say you have a spouse that does still drink. Well, they could hide the alcohol. Don't carry cash or a card on you. That's a little risky, but if you don't have that available, you can't just randomly stop off at the store and buy it on the way home. So that is one of the tips as well for breaking a bad habit. Another one is make avoidance visible. So you need to make it satisfying to do nothing. And by doing nothing, that means make it satisfying to not drink. You want to make that visible. And so that's where people like to track things. They like to visibly, put a star on their calendar, or you can get an app where you can see how many sober days you had or non-drinking days. You're making it a visual. Another example is you could open a bank account. You could call it vacation, call it Hawaii. And every time you pass on a drink or a happy hour, whatever amount you were typically spending, put that money in your vacation account. And so that is really going to be like a strong incentive for you. It's extrinsic, which is okay when you're starting out. But as you move forward and you keep repeating these steps and you keep practicing, then you're going to see a beautiful bank account. You really do save a lot of money when you don't drink. Let's face it. We had talked before about how changing your identity is difficult when the culture that you're in goes against that normal identity. So, being in a society that normalizes drinking, it's so visible. Most people do it. It can be really hard to be a non-drinker. So what you could do is join a tribe, basically. So these behaviors, they're attractive when they help us fit in. We're just herd animals. That's what we are. So it might even explain, how and why we started drinking in the first place. I know I started at a young age in a college town and I wanted to fit in. But what helped me when I quit drinking was to join, I ended up joining a Facebook group. There's Instagram groups. There's things online. There's AA. That's part of why AA is so successful for some people. Doesn't work for everybody, but it is a group of people who don't drink. So that is part of your tribe, part of your identity. So those were the really actionable tools that James Clear gives in his book, Atomic Habits, to help you quit drinking. I hope you found them helpful. And I just want to remind you, it's progress, not perfection. It's practice, not perfection. Be kind to yourself. Everyone's on a different journey. We are all in the same storm, but we're not all in the same boat. So what might work for one person might not be what helps you. So I want to be, just a helpful lifesaver for you. I want to throw out a life preserver. I want to throw, do you need a tow? Do you need an oar? Like, I'm going to help you out in this storm. And so that's what the alcohol tipping point is about. And I would love to hear from you if you have certain pain points, certain things you struggle with as you're changing your relationship to alcohol. What would be helpful to you? And you can reach me on Instagram, Alcohol Tipping Point. You can reach me on Facebook, Alcohol Tipping Point. I also have a website, alcoholtippingpoint.com. I would love to hear from you. And the whole reason that I'm doing this is because I was just like you, and I was hurting and I was alone. And I want to have these tools and tips and resources to help you on your journey. And so I encourage you to keep going, keep positive, you're worth it, and you're enough. Thank you guys so much. Soul Ease, a personal spa and lifestyle boutique. At Soul Ease, you will enter into a relaxing environment. You can rest in mind, body, and soul with a day spa experience. Discover world-class skincare treatments using French and Hungarian techniques, organic and natural skincare, along with modern technologies. Whether you're visiting us for one session or multiple times, here will be a personal spa experience to relax and recharge your soul. Soul Ease is conveniently located near downtown Boise, in the North End on North 28th Street, across the street from Lowell Elementary School. Follow them on Instagram at soul_ease_Boise, Facebook at Soul Ease, or check out their website at soul-ease.com or call 208-994-1480 to reserve your next appointment. This podcast is brought to you by Make Waves Media House. Make Waves Media House is a full-service video production company based out of Spokane, Washington, but does work all over the U.S., specializing in music video production, editing, director of photography services, motion graphics, and commercial work. With 20 years of experience behind the camera and celebrating 7 years of business, Make Waves is here to create your high-quality videos at affordable prices. You can find them on Facebook now at Make Waves Media House or Instagram at make.waves.mh or call them now at 509-991-3000. Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Alcohol Tipping Point. I'm always here for you guys, so please feel free to reach out and talk to me on Instagram at Alcohol Tipping Point. And check out my website, alcoholtippingpoint.com. Again, I hope you can use these tips we talked about for the rest of your week. And until then, see you next time.